So if you want to buy a house, how much money do you need?
There's all kinds of things you need to consider. The down payment, the closing costs. What are they all going to be, and how are you going to get there? Hello everybody, my name is Barry Horvath and this is Moving Forward TV with your local market update.
And I am DeLynn Gaston. Thank you so much for joining us. So today we're talking about saving money because there's a whole bunch of money that's needed when you go to buy a house, right?
Right, but how much money is really needed? It's so, you know, it's almost overwhelming. Hey, we got right into it this week. Don't you want to talk about a sidebar or something?
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks, yeah. So hopefully we're still in it at the time you watch this.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah, go Bucks. Go Bucks, baby. I have my Bucks mask in my...
I know. I'm surprised you didn't bring it up. You're the sports guy.
I know. It was too early.
You're our sports tip side.
I know. All right, we'll get to sports tips later, but right now we have buying tips and how are you going to get there?
It does cost a lot of money, and yes, there's down payment assistance programs and things like that that are available for people, but
that may or may not be the best interest of you.
Or you might not qualify for them.
Right,
because
qualify and look at
a lot of them have income restrictions on them or credit score restrictions, things like that.
Or what I call red tape.
Red tape. Yeah. There you go. I like that.
They could cost you more, even though it's free money.
Yeah, they say it's free money.
It may not be.
Trust
so
us
free.
on this. It's not so free.
Yeah. So how much do you need? Because what are the biggest part people worry about is, well, I got my down payment. I know I need 3.5% down, or I know I need 5% down, or I know I need 10% down, or 15%, or 20% of the purchase price. We all can figure that out. But what about the closing costs? That's part of it. Closing costs could be as much as or more than your actual down payment in some situations. So DeLynn loves to talk about closing costs. It's her thing. I'm going to turn it over to her to let her talk about what closing costs are, what they should be, because you know what? Everybody says your closing costs are too high. You know what's so funny?
What?
The closing costs from the lender are the very
smallest out of the whole thing.
Of all the costs, and people don't understand that. Well, your costs are high. Well, maybe you could look at one lender estimate versus another, and they estimated higher because they didn't know.
Right.
They wanted to play it safe. You know what people don't realize? As a lender today, if we underdisclose a closing cost, guess who has to pay for it?
We do.
Yeah, it's not the realtor.
No.
It's not the homeowner. It's the lender. The lender is responsible. So if we totally underdisclose a fee from the title company, we have to pay it.
Yep.
So, or if we underdisclose what the appraisal fees are going to be, we have to pay it.
And it's not our fees. And that's one of the things I like to explain to everyone. You know, fees, for the most part, do not vary a whole heck of a lot lender to lender, to be perfectly honest with you.
I don't like that word, fee.
Fee.
Cost.
Costs. Okay, yeah. Sorry. He likes costs better. Costs. Closing costs.
A fee sounds like something you should avoid. A cost is something you may not be able to avoid. You can avoid.
Closing costs do not vary, should not, I should say, vary a whole heck of a lot from lender to lender because for the most part, they're broken into different sections, and you have whatever your lenders charge, and that's usually, like Barry said, the smallest part of the whole thing is what the lender charges. Then you have what does the title company charge. Then you have what does the government charge, recording the documents. The
government charges something?
The government charges. So
I thought we were staying out of politics today.
We're supposed to be.
It's really a sensitive subject right now, DeLynn. We might want to stay away from the government.
Good point. Good point. Let's rephrase. The county, the county charges fees to record costs.
Yeah. The county has costs.
The county has costs to.
It's sad we have to be politically correct in everything we say right now.
Doc stamps, tax, intangible tax, and they charge to record the documents in the county clerk's office, in the land records, recording all your deeds so that you own it. All of that costs money. And like I like to tell people, it's not any one fee that's outrageous or any one cost that's outrageous. It's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of people involved from the time you sign a contract until the time you're actually sitting at a closing table and they're handing you your keys to your new house. And there's nothing outrageous in there, but there's all these people. I call them the hard costs. There's a whole bunch of people. So everybody gets paid, so to speak, for their portion of it, right? Only makes sense. The county charges fees, the state charges fees, your lender has some fees, your title company, they charge to do the closing for you. There's somebody who does the title search, and there's a charge for that, things like that. You need to get an appraisal of the property, there's a charge for that, a survey for the property.
Title insurance itself.
Title insurance itself, there's all these different costs.
The endorsements for title.
Right, the endorsements. So and all of these things, honestly, people, they're not that expensive. They're just a whole bunch of them.
Which can make it expensive.
They add up, and they add up really quickly. Yeah. So those are always going to add up to rough round numbers, depending upon your purchase.
$1 million.
Depending on your purchase price, somewhere around $5,000, let's say, give or take. So it might be less, it might be only 4, or it might be 6. Keep in mind, if you're buying a lower priced house, it's going to be lower because some of those fees are actually
percentages
of your loan amount or your purchase price. Or it could be more. So if you're buying a $100,000 house versus a $400,000 house, obviously it's going to vary in there somewhere.
And a lot of them are flat fees. Like
exactly.
If the lender has an underwriting fee, that's a flat fee. If the title company has a settlement fee, which they will,
normally that's a flat fee.
It's a flat fee.
Processing fee is usually a flat fee. An appraisal fee is normally a flat fee. Unless it's like a waterfront property or something, then it's a little bit
survey fee is a flat fee.
Most of the time, again, unless if they're surveying 8 acres versus a quarter acre, there's going to be a variance there. But for the most part, those are
flat. It's a fixed cost.
There's only a couple of things that are very much dependent on your loan size.
What's so funny is because a lot of agents say, well, what's the percentage? Well, there can't be a percentage because obviously on a $100,000 house, it could be 5% if you use your $5,000 number. But on a $200,000 house, that same number is only 2.5%.
Right.
So it's half. So there's no percentage.
So if you're a realtor watching this, please, we've said this a million times at our Lunch and Learns too, don't give people an idea of closing costs based on a percentage. Don't do it. It's wrong and misleading. So part 2 of closing costs. So that's the first half, is all the people involved. The second thing that is not a closing cost, so to speak, it's not for services that are rendered. This is for you. This is to build up a little savings account for your taxes and your insurance on the house.
Call it an escrow account, if you will.
They call it an escrow account. So that is your taxes, real estate taxes on the house, and your insurance on the house. Now, all insurance companies, let's start there. All insurance companies, doesn't make a difference if you're buying house insurance, car insurance, medical insurance, health insurance, life insurance. Every single insurance company in the entire country does it the exact same way. And if you think about it, they don't insure you until you pay them. Right? Everybody right now is going, yeah, you're right. Like if you pay your car insurance on a quarterly basis and you pay it on January 1st, you're not paying for October, November, and December. You're paying for January, February, and March. You're always paying into the future. Insurance is in advance. And on a house, because it's included in with your payment and such, they're going to want the first year's premium up front. So at the closing, in addition to all of the hard costs we just talked about, if it's going to cost you $1,200 a year to insure your house, that's $1,200 you have to pay to the insurance company at the closing. So keep that in mind.
Plus, they also need reserves for the new escrow account,
Exactly.
which could be another couple months. So
Couple of months that they usually do, and there's a cushion in there and such. So definitely plan on a year's worth of insurance plus a few months of insurance to pay the next year. And then we're going to collect all year long with your bill, with your monthly mortgage payment. So next year, because guess what happens? Next year at the same time, we're going to get a bill for year 2.
So if the insurance cost is $1,000 for the year, per se, you need $1,000 up front. Just want to be clear to
Yep.
make sure. $1,000 because you're paying for the year. You're
Right.
binding the policy, plus another couple of months. So that could be another $1,200 you got to bring to closing.
Right.
Just in escrow, not
Right.
including the proration of taxes.
Right.
What about HOA? Do we put that in escrow?
No,
Oh.
good point.
Okay.
Your lender is not going to collect for your HOA. However, on your closing statement, there will be an adjustment because every HOA is a little bit different. I think some of them charge in arrears, some of them charge in advance. I have no idea. I don't pay an HOA where I live, so I'm not sure how they work. But your realtor will be able to guide you through that and how much money you're going to need to come up with for your HOA fees.
And there are estoppel fees as well, but that is the seller's responsibility. An estoppel fee is basically a cost that the HOA is saying, yes, you're up to date, and yes, you can move in to make sure they're not behind. And they can be pretty costly now.
Right.
They can be very costly to the seller, not to the buyer.
And then the last part of the closing costs or escrows would be your taxes and your tax proration. And this is dependent upon what time of year you close. Well, how much do you guys collect for taxes? I get that question sometimes.
How much do we collect? It's still your money. We're collecting on your behalf. Just remember that.
And it depends on what time of the year you close. They're going to collect enough to pay the next tax bill due. In the state of Florida, all taxes are due in the month of November. So depending upon if you close in July or if you close in January, they're going to calculate and prorate it to have enough in that escrow account because November 1st, they're going to get a bill for a year's worth of taxes. There will be a credit. Depending upon, again, what time of year you close, you will only pay for what you actually, from the time you actually own the house. So if you're closing in February, in November, you're going to pay an entire year worth of taxes, but you didn't own the house for the whole year. The seller will actually, at the closing, he owned it from January 1st until February whenever you close. So he's going to give you that credit back.
Do you know what? Something came up yesterday
Okay.
on taxes, and it comes up a lot. You know, the lender collects escrows based on what they see on the tax bill. You qualify in your loan based on what they see on the tax bill.
Right.
This Save Our Homes cap can really, really come up on some people, and I think people need to be educated on, I actually had somebody I talked to yesterday, they said, my realtor told me when I filed the homestead it would actually be less.
Not always.
And I'm like, okay, let's look at your scenario. Well, they went to another lender. I won't mention their name, but they, anyway, they misinformed them. They told them their taxes would go down. They escrowed for it. Well, these people own the house for like 9 years, and the cap was in place. So that cap snapped back the next year. So now they're short in their escrow. Now they got to catch up on those escrow dollars,
Right.
and they double it down. So now their payment went up to a couple $100 a month.
Right.
And they're like, I thought we had a fixed rate mortgage. Well, you do, but the escrows can
Right.
change. So I encourage everybody, before you purchase a home, go on the estimator and look at what your taxes should be when you buy the house. Do not go by what it says on Zillow, Realtor.com, whatever. Go to the actual tax roll of the county of the property you're looking at. See what the taxes should be, because what you see is not always what you get. You may be surprised that the taxes will be way, way higher at a later date, and you don't want that. Now your escrow's short, and your lender, again, the lender's only collecting taxes on behalf of what they believe to be true. You can also tell your lender that, hey, we know this tax bill is going to be this much, and they can fix and adjust your escrows so they're proper, so you don't have that shortage coming up when that tax bill's due. You don't want that. I mean, it's shock. If you budget for $1,000 a month and all of a sudden your mortgage goes to $1,200 a month, it can be scary for people.
Absolutely.
Especially during hard times like this.
And you know what? And we encourage you, don't go to the tippy top of what you qualify for because of things like this. The taxes could be anywhere. And like Barry said, go to the estimator to see what it's going to be. If you buy this house for, $275,000, what is the taxes going to be? Because they have the homestead in place, if the seller has that Save Our Homes cap, yours could still go up. And realtors out there who are listening, please educate the buyers correctly that
they will love you later.
So that they're prepared for it. I know that we want to find them a house and get them into a house, but we also want them to be comfortable, and we don't want them to come and have it bite them in the tail in January. Every single lender in the entire country does an escrow analysis every January, so that's why all of this is coming up right now.
Yes, and you will get a statement showing exactly where your escrow money went and what bills were paid. It's the law. They're required to do it. If there's extra in the escrow, they're required to send it back to you, or they can apply it towards principal if you choose. But they have to disclose to you where that money is going. It's not like it's extra payment money that your rate went up or your payment changed. It's your money. It's just your bills change. On a fixed rate mortgage, your mortgage payment will never actually change on the principal and interest part. But the taxes may go up and the insurance may go up. Your taxes probably will never go up more. If you live in the state of Florida and you've homesteaded a property, you probably won't go up more than whatever the inflation index is for that year. So call it 3%. So if your taxes are $1,000 a year, you should never go up more than $30 in a year, which is $2.50 a month. Does that make you feel better? But you need to estimate it up front correctly. Otherwise, poof, it can go back and bite you later.
Yes, it can.
I actually had somebody call me yesterday, and they were mad. They went through a broker, and their broker won't even call them back to tell them. I'm like, I don't even need to look at your property address.
Tell you what
I'll
happened.
tell you exactly what happened. And she's like, yeah, you know what? I called the appraiser's office. They tried to explain to me something about it, but I didn't understand what they meant. You made it very clear. I wish my lender had told me that.
Right.
I wish my realtor had told me that. Now, who do you think? You think she's going to refer that realtor at a later date?
No.
You think she's going to refer that lender? Don't hide that from people, And if you tell them, they may forget. They will.
They will.
But they'll also remember, oh, I remember them saying something about that, because it's overwhelming buying a house.
It
Let's
is.
face it.
It is, and there's so much going on, and there's so much money going out the door,
Yeah, so-
which brings us to part two.
Yeah, how are you going to save for this? So let's recap what we just said. So let's just say closing costs are $4,000 to $5,000, like you said. Then you have your escrows, which you're paying
Another
a year
few
in
$1,000,
insurance.
$2,000 to $3,000.
Your insurance, your taxes, your share, paying for a year of insurance could be another $2,000, $3,000.
Right.
So now you have, $7,000 or
Now you're up to
$8,000 in closing costs. And
That's normal, people. That is every single lender in the country. We don't do
And-
it differently. We all do it the same.
and they're not really costs, because remember, $2,000 or $3,000 of that is your money.
Your savings account
Your
for
escrow
your
money.
taxes.
So is it a cost? And then you got, your prorated interest that's going to come in on your closing disclosure, because you're probably going to skip a mortgage payment because you
Right.
pay the interest in advance on the closing statement and then, if you close, say, the end of January, you probably won't have a mortgage payment till March.
And everyone says,
feels
yay,
cool.
I got
Yeah,
a
they
free
say,
month.
but you paid
No,
for
you
it. It's on your
don't.
close. Yeah, there's no
Nothing's
such thing.
free in life.
It's not free. It may feel free. It was part of that settlement. So lenders' estimates may vary because, a lot of them will say, well, it's only going to be 1 day of prepaid interest, which means you have to close on the last day of the month. Some will say 15 or 20, so it looks like their costs are higher. They're not. It's just their estimate's different.
So keep in mind, every single lender, we are mandated by law. We all do it the exact same way. So there's some things that are
Well,
not going to change.
I would never say that. We don't do it the exact same way. We're supposed to do it the exact same way. How we disclose it may be different.
Supposed to do it the exact same way.
Yeah.
He's right. So it's just kind of like estimates. Keep in mind, it is an estimate, but hopefully if they're disclosing it correctly to you, it's not going to be too far off. I always tell my people, I like to over-disclose. I would rather guess on the high side for you than guess on the low side and
then
say,
be
oh, by the
mad.
way, we're $1,000 short, you know?
Yeah. People butter up and grease their estimates to make them look really good in their favor,
Yeah,
and they're not
yeah.
necessarily true. So just
No,
remember.
we're going to be open.
So we could talk about that all day. Now, you know you're going to need that $7,000-8,000 for closing costs, assuming you didn't get the seller to pay them. And you know you're going to need your down payment, which is, say, 5%. So on a $100,000 house, all of a sudden you need $12,000 or $13,000 to bring to the closing table.
I know, this is where people, even on the phone, I can almost
You hear a
see
pin drop.
the glazed look in their eyes
Yeah.
because, and I
How you gonna
don't want to
save
be,
it? 'Cause-
I know I don't want to be disappointing them, but that's reality. That's what
And
they're
a lot
going
of
to need.
sellers in this market aren't willing to pay closing costs. Let's
That is
face
an
it.
option. You can ask your seller. Your realtor will do that for you. Ask your seller if they can pay some of them, but just keep in mind that we are in a seller's market right now, and it might be a little bit difficult to do that.
Yeah. So how are we going to save for this money? We want to give you some quick tips on how to do that. Because if you're not ready, maybe we can help get you ready. Because a lot of people
Number
aren't ready.
one, discipline.
Oh.
Discipline, discipline, discipline. Discipline yourself.
You sound like my mother.
I know. Discipline yourself. Open up a savings account, even if you only have $10 to put in it right now, and discipline yourself to every single time you get paid. Do it, automate it. Have it automated so that, if you get direct deposit, they will split your deposit. So you can say, I want, most of my check going to my checking account, but I want $100 going to my savings account or $20 going to whatever it is. Just set it up, automate it, and you'll never miss that money, and it's building up in a savings account for you.
There's a great idea. Automated is the key.
Automate it.
Because you won't miss it. Like you take
Exactly.
deductions from your paycheck or your checking savings account, have it go direct deposit,
Yep.
boom, it's gone.
And your lender, or not your lender, your bank will do that for
Right.
you, and your employer will do that for you.
All right, here's another tip for you. This is my least favorite. I know I'm going to get some flack for this. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Skip a vacation.
Just for 1 year.
Just skip it, okay? People spend thousands and thousands of dollars on vacation, and I know, I don't know anybody that doesn't go over budget on a vacation, because usually when you go away, you look at, the hotel, the resort fees, whatever they may be, maybe airline, gas. But when you get there, when you're on vacation, you're relaxed, you're feeling good, and people in those markets know that. You spend more. You went out, you know what, let me have another glass of wine. All that adds up, because
Oh,
you're like,
let
I'm on vacation. I deserve
Let
it.
me get lobster.
Yeah. Normally I get the
I do
patty
that.
melt, but I'm getting lobster tonight.
That's right, because I'm on vacation.
'Cause
We
I'm
all
on
want to do
vacation.
that.
So
But and we're not saying all the time, 1 year. Just 1 year.
Yep.
Just 1
So
year. Cut back.
skip it one time. Maybe that'll
And the
help
next
you.
one is one of mine that hurts me. Skip the little luxuries.
Ooh.
I know. I love my little luxuries. I love getting my nails done. I am a coffeeaholic. I love my Starbucks. I
You
love my
love your
Dunkin' Donuts. I love my.
$5.52 Starbucks.
I love them.
Yeah. Listen,
Skip or cut down. Maybe
homebrewed
instead of
Dunkin'
going,
Donuts right here, baby. Homebrewed with my own cream.
maybe instead of going, 5 days a week, every single day to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, something, maybe cut it down to once a week and bring it from home like Barry does. Actually,
Yeah.
I do too.
I know.
Then I stop.
I have the Curtis coffee pot. Cost me a lot of money, but I paid for it many, 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 many times over.
I know.
Like I just push the button, grind my beans, boop, off it goes, and it tastes amazing.
So that goes right along with,
Creating a budget.
yes.
Yes, create a budget.
Know where you're spending your money.
And you know what? You'd be surprised if you look at your bank statement every month where you're spending money.
How much money are you spending at Starbucks? How much money are you spending at, dinner, once a
'em up.
week? Go to dinner once a month instead of once a week, and then it's a lot more special as well. And take that money and put it into your savings account. We would have spent, $50. We would have spent $100 at dinner tonight. Put that into your savings account.
Yeah, so that
You'd be surprised how quickly it can add up.
I think just tracking your spending. I always love the logic of, I used to show people that had trouble with that, to take your paycheck, whatever it is, okay, and put it in cash, and then set out envelopes. That visual really helps people. My electric bill it's $200. It goes in that envelope. My food bill is $100. Put it in that envelope. My car payment is this much. When you divide it up and you see it, and then you look at what's left in that tiny, tiny little stack, then you
That's
know
for
this
you.
is what you have to save. And if you have an envelope for luxuries, well, you could say, you know what, I usually spend $100 on these little extras. This month I'll spend $50.
Right.
You take the other and put it
in the
towards your
savings
down
account.
payment.
It's
Save
funny
it.
you say that because that's the way my father taught me when I was a teenager.
It works.
I had he
It's a
had all these
visual-
envelopes.
it's a visual
and I cashed
aid.
my check and I
And
put
it
money in
makes-
each
when
one.
you see it, you do it. There's something about that.
My son came home when he was in high school, and he came home and he taught it to me. He said, "This is what we learned in school today."
It works.
His economics teacher. That's what they taught the kids in high school, which was great.
It absolutely, and it seems elementary, but it's really not.
It is very true. It's a visual, like you said, and it forces you to do that.
All right.
So
here's another good one. It's tax season right now. A lot of you are going to get a refund. A lot of you have gotten stimulus money. What'd you do with the money? You know what I see people saying, "Oh, I'm going to get a tax refund." So they already spent the money before
know.
they even get it. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy that.
Right.
Save that.
save it.
Save it.
Kickstart your savings account. It's the perfect time.
Do
New
it.
year. Kickstart your savings
it.
account with your refund.
Just do it.
I know every car company out there is wanting you to come in and buy a new car. They all start advertising for, buy a car with your tax
Yeah,
refund.
they know
No,
they're gonna get you.
save it.
They're gonna
Save
get
it.
you.
If your goal, sit here and look at by the end of the year, if your goal is to buy a house, save it.
Yep. All right, here's another great one.
Last one.
Credit card purchases. Don't do it. Use your debit card. Don't put it on credit card unless you're going to pay it off at the end of the month. If you pay it on a credit card, you'll say, "Oh, look at the minimum payment's only $25." All of a sudden, you left a balance. Now you're paying interest on that. You do not use the credit card. Please don't use it unless you're going to pay it off in
Right.
full at the end of the month. Poof.
Poof.
Some great
That's it.
saving tips
Those
for
are
you.
some great saving
I love
tips.
those.
I
Good
know,
stuff.
right?
Hey, we got stuff coming up. Lunch and Learn coming up this month.
February 9th?
February 9th. It will be via Zoom. We are going to give you 2 hours of continuing education credits just for joining us. How cool is that?
So-
you need CE credits for free? We
Right.
got you 2 hours. Starts at 11:30. Get the link from us. We'll get you in. We'll get you your CEs.
Log in early, too. Don't wait until 11:35 to log in
'Cause we-
because they
yeah,
are
we don't
going
know
to
what-
be taking attendance
Yep.
and looking for people to get those 2 hours of CEs.
So-
And you can't leave early, so plan on it. Block it out. I know we're usually only an hour on that. Block out 2 this year.
And it's going to be
This
on
month.
cybercrime. It's big. It'll save you money. Anyway.
There you go.
Hey, thanks. Share this. Get it out there.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. We are Today and Every Day.
Moving forward.
See you next week. Bye-bye.